Hello, my name is Hannah, but I also go by Yukiko Yamada1. Welcome to my first video. For this one, I decided to bring you along with me during the process of creating this month's Patreon print. It's kind of going to be a longer one, so I suggest you pause, grab a nice drink, a snack, bundle up all nice and snug, and come along with me for the ride. When it came time to come up with this month's print for May, I knew I wanted to create something cozy. Every print so far this year has been my own original characters in one way or another. So I decided that this time it was time to branch out into some fan art. And to do that, I thought, who better than the Queen, Hatsune Miku herself. So that's what I went with. I find that Miku is very much within my comfort zone, so it wasn't difficult for me to come up with this piece. I find her design is so simple and memorable that I don't really need too many references for her whenever I draw her. And that's a super exciting thing for me because I can draw her in any outfit or design her in any way whatsoever and she will still be memorable. Despite that though, I still went with her usual, almost default outfit, the one from her cover art, because most of her body isn't actually shown, it's just her face really. So I didn't want to go too in detail with an outfit and clothing that's not going to be seen. And if I was going to draw a variation of her, like her one of the Snow Mikus, like this year's one, I'd want to do at least a half body so I can get all of those really pretty details in her clothing, because those designers and artists work so hard on all of these designs that it wouldn't do it justice to draw that and not have those designs on display. That being said though, I didn't really think too much about this illustration. I was mainly going by feeling and just letting myself just get it out onto the page. Sure, it's not exactly what was in my head, but it's a pretty good representation. I let my hands do the work, and I did have a rough thumbnail sketched out, but I didn't really care about following it too strictly since this was just as much for fun as it was for my Patreon patrons. So if any of you are watching, I hope you like this month's print. I did work hard on it, even though it was probably one of the quickest ones this year. Honestly, it only took me a couple of hours compared to usual. Art has been a huge thing for me for as long as I can remember. I've only been keeping sketchbooks since 2017, but I was drawing long before that, just on scrap pieces of paper and in the borders of my homework. And that's where I started. I started small with just a grey lead or a ballpoint pen on a scrap page, and then look at me now with Ohuhu markers and a distinct style. I have my processes and my audience, you guys, and I'm so grateful for all of that. I've come such a long way and I'm so proud of how I've gotten here. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stagnate. I want to keep growing, and I want to keep sharing my work with more and more people, because as long as I can make at least someone smile with my work, I will be beyond happy. Because if I can make someone smile, then it means I brightened at least one day. Especially nowadays when everything's getting harder and darker and more expensive, and some people are struggling even to make ends meet. This art thing is both my hobby and my job. I don't really have anything else, to be honest, sad as that sounds. But I love it. I love it so much. I wouldn't give it up for the world. That's why I'm so happy that I'm starting this YouTube. I finally took that step to make the first video, which is the one you're watching now. So I suppose if you're sitting here and you don't know who I am, or you're new here, you don't really know all that much about me. There isn't much to know in the first place, but I just like to do my own thing. I sketch in my silly little sketchbook, and I share those little sketches online. I'm on sketchbook 15, not that that's visible in this video, since this is a illustration on a separate piece of paper that will not be going into my sketchbook unless I print off an extra print for myself. Speaking of which, if you end up liking this illustration of Miku that I'm working on, I'll have my Patreon linked in the description below, so feel free to join and make a pledge. If you become a silly little sketch, you'll get a A5 print mailed out to you every month, as well as scans of my sketchbook pages or any other pages that I've drawn on during the week, and early access to these videos, of course. I'm working on some other freebies as well. It's a lot of work, but I'm getting there, and I want to make my community as strong and as close-knit as I can, so it would be really great if you check that out. And if a monthly thing like Patreon isn't your cup of tea, I'll also have my online store linked in the description too, so if you decide that you want to take a look-see and see what I have to offer, I've got bookmarks and prints and stickers and such, with more stuff coming out regularly. I'm always working to make more. Just, I want to give, if that makes sense. I think here's a good spot to mention that I tried a couple of new techniques with this illustration that I don't usually use, like the feathering in the rendering of her hair. That's not necessarily something I usually do. I stick to more of a cell shading almost, but this is a little different. This is more carefully rendered, and it was quite fun actually. I found it very rewarding, and I'm absolutely going to be doing that again with my next one, and I'm really looking forward to it. I also tried something new with the face and the eyes. I don't normally render eyelids quite like this, but I think it turned out just so pretty, and it's another thing that I'll add more often as well, because if it's something that works, why get rid of it? Why change it? So I'm always looking to learn and to get better at my craft, make my art better. I'm always studying, I'm always learning. I think it would be good to mention what materials I'm using, actually. I don't know where the colored pencil came from. It's pink. I think it's from Kmart, actually. Anko brand or something. The markers I'm using are Ohuhu brush markers. I like them quite a lot. I've spent quite a lot of money getting quite a large collection because I just love color so much that I want to make sure that I can color as much as possible with the colors that I've got. So I filled in some gaps that I had with other sets and will continue to do so. Although an Ohuhu collab at some point would be a dream, honestly. I'm not sponsored by them, but if they happen to be listening, my email's always open. Alas. Later on in the video, I also used some Anko brand paint markers that I got to try because my Poscas were running out, so I needed to find something quickly. I usually use paint markers for final details like lights in eyes and such, because it's just such an easy way to get those lights in the eyes and the highlights in the hair and everything without, causing too much disruption, I suppose, because you don't need to leave space for it in the colouring itself. You can just layer it on top. It is pretty permanent though, but so is everything. So is the alcohol ink, so is the colour pencil. Later on I'll also use a pinky purple gel pen that I usually use for line art because I think that the pinky purple looks best with my art. Just like it looks better on matte paper compared to glossy, I found. Sometimes illustrations and colours look better one way over the other, but it's entirely up to personal preference, honestly, and I just prefer matte over glossy. Simple as that. I know she's looking a little funky now, but I promise you she'll look better once the line art goes in. And the line art can't go in until at least majority of the colour is done. Otherwise, the alcohol ink in the Ohuhu markers tends to make the ink in my liner pen bleed, and I don't like that. So I do it after. Keeps my art cleaner, keeps my hand cleaner, and I don't get the feathering. I'd just like to mention that this is my first video, like, ever, so I'm incredibly new to this YouTube thing, which means I'm still learning the ropes. So if any of you have any tips or tricks that could really help me out, I'd greatly appreciate that. So please leave them in the description, not the description, it's the comments. Leave them in the comments. But be nice about it. I'm learning. I'm new to this. I don't really know very much or how to do very much. So thank you for being here.
is my favourite part. Peeling the washi tape afterwards to reveal that nice clean edge. Sometimes the paper rips, but that's okay. You can fix it with a white coloured pencil. Luckily, that didn't happen here, or at least not that I noticed. The washi tape did leave a bit of residue, but that won't affect the final scan, so it won't affect the print at all. So clean, so straight. It's perfect. Some final touches. I wanted the pink here to look like stage lights, but I also wanted her to have the appearance that she herself was glowing as well. Here I'm just signing my work. If you've made it this far in the video, I'd like to thank you so much. I have a little treat for you too. If you use the code ULEGEND10 at checkout on my store, you'll get 10% off your entire order, but that's only because you watched to the end. I'll see you next time, I suppose. Hopefully very soon. No schedule yet, but will be eventually. You have a good one. Bye bye.